Hello my friends, welcome to another episode of Game Testing Unlimited. My name is Wilfred. So once in a while I would make some video on games that are normally do not feature in this channel. Mostly I play a lot of ARPG, action role-playing game, but I needed to take a break from all these seasons or league or cycle, so I play something different. And so in this video, I'd like to share with you my thought on the game as well. What it is, what is the Railway Empire, some of the pros and also considerations, some of the tips for you as well. I do find this game pretty fun, I must say. So now, what is a Railway Empire? I think the best way to describe it is a simulation game at its core. So you pick up different starting character to have certain buff to your game, so you can, different game may play differently if you pick a different starting character. You build train as well as its infrastructure. You build up a local economy as well, and it's more or less to me like a RTS, a real-time strategy game. There are objectives to overcome, as well as there are competitors as well. You could kind of like play against them, and they may hinder on your progress, and you may take them out as well through some really kind of like offensive manner. You can just buy out that business or liquidate them as well. So it's pretty interesting. There's a bit of AI there. And the game also has the story mode as well as the freeform or sandbox. So what do I mean by that? On the base game, it's called campaign. So the campaign are pretty fun. It follow a historical set of events in a certain era, and the trains are meant to be for that era as well. Some stories are more memorable than others, like the Civil War in Chapter 4. There's a northern side and southern sides of the America, and you have to start, manufacturing, growing the cities and start manufacturing weapons to kind of like weaponize some of these, or send the weapon to some of these towns for them to defend themselves and so on. So I thought that part of the chapters are quite fun. There are also other scenarios as well, because this game has a lot of DLC, as you can imagine, and the DLC mainly built upon the scenario, which is kind of different from the campaign in a way. Just take away the cutscene, I think it's more or less the same. There's a set of scenario. Some of the objective could be time based as well. So you have to rush against certain objective, or the game fail. You have to start again. If you don't like this sort of like time pressure or scenario kind of objectives, you could play the sandbox mode as well as freeform. So what are the difference? One is freeform. The free play mode is really you can just do anything. There's no limit on the amount of money you have and so on. While sandbox is still, with kind of like there's still a construct of the constraint that you may have over time, and also you could bring in AI as well to play in sandbox. So it's pretty fun. Now, there's already a Railway Empire 2, so why not play that instead? From what I read and from what I watched as well, seems that the version 2 is still need a little bit of kind of like working towards, and it may not be as fun as this iteration, although it's an older game, it's not that old. So I would say, just pick up the Railway Empire first. If you like me, go to Epic Store every Friday to pick up some free game, this would have been in your library anyway. But I've decided to pick this game up on Steam instead, because I can have the DLC, right? So the DLC expands from the America experience or US experience to places like Canada, Mexico, UK and Ireland, Germany, Northern Europe, South of America, the Australia, as well as what you see here is Japan. This is Japan DLC, pretty fun. You can see some sakura here and there. If you take a look at some of these clips that I show, when there is you can hop into one of your trains as well as see the view. It's a little bit of like Japanese kind of feel when they reach the station. Pretty fun, especially when you're waiting for your money or resources to come in. Well, it's like, okay, I can't do much anyway right now but to watch. I took out all the loans I can afford. Then you just hop into one of your trains and just watch it play out in real time. So yeah, I mean that is one of the reasons why I stick to the first iteration rather than the Railway Empire 2. And so that is what this game is about. In a nutshell, would I recommend? So yeah, I mean I would recommend if you enjoy simulation, something that is so what are the pluses, right? So a plus point is it's a game that's very easy to pick up. I played there about 40 odd hours. If you add my time in Epic Games as well, it's very easy to pick up. You learn the tutorials more or less kind of like functional. You can, you don't need to go into some of the simulation game can be very complex that you need to read a lot of guides. You don't need that. You just experiment, and sometimes yes, you fail some objective, but interestingly, every time you go back and do it again, you always do better because you learn a lesson and say that, okay, this won't work, let's not do that again, and then you do something else, right? But it does take a little bit time to master. Mastering this game is not easy, I would say, because you need to optimize a lot of things. You need to optimize your track. Sometimes you may be tempted to build a direct link from one city to another, one resource to another city, or so on. But you have to dodge some of the geographic kind of like variants as well. You try not to build too many tunnels or bridges because it costs you a lot, and also your train will have difficulties sometimes to climb the hill, right? And versus the little bit longer route, but it may be a lot cheaper, and also you may get there faster as well. You need to understand economic, because the core of this game is really about making money, beating your competition, and meeting the time objective. So you need to work on that, and also sometimes you do need to take out your competitors. We'll give you some tips later on, but the competition can be a little bit annoying if you're not used to this sort of competitive kind of like gameplay, or you're looking at it more from a simulation point of view, right? But good thing, like I said, don't need to read up any online kind of like guides, and you can more or less learn your way and improve as well. The second plus point, and I would say that the campaign or the scenario can be a little bit challenging as well, but like I mentioned, some of them are really memorable, like the Civil War campaign, and the replayability, right? So that leads on to the next bit about replayability. At first I thought this game is okay, you got a few campaign, 5 chapters, a few scenario for each of the DLC or location. How long does it take to finish the game? Well, actually it takes a while. It takes a while because there's a failed condition, and unless you save a game somewhere. But sometimes, a lot of mistakes you made are kind of progressively added onto the failure. So you can save cram yourself into, maybe I pick up one of the save game and do it from there. I would advise only if you know that from that point onwards it's kind of like, it's going to correct it. Otherwise, may as well just start from the beginning again. And always, I found that if I do it from the beginning again, I always get better. So may as well just do it from the beginning. There are also because there are so many DLC. If you buy the complete edition plus Japan on a discount, sometimes they give you 70% discount, right? You have quite a lot of location to go through, and each of the DLC is interesting because it can adapt to the local culture. In the America side, you may have like wheat go into beer, making beer, or the fruit and sugarcane go into becoming wine. But in Japan, they look into things like sake, which is from rice, and also plum wine and so on. So this is very different. What the industry, in America, there's a lot of cattle business because big time on stick. But in Japan, you can farm octopus or seafood to be one of the resources. So it's different, and it's kind of interesting. I can't wait to get through the rest of it. You can also hunt for all these Steam achievements as well. There's quite a number of them. And if you say, okay, fine, I've done all the scenario, I've done all the campaign, what else can you do? Well, you can replay them to get a higher score, so that, at the end of the campaign, for example, they'll tell you where's the score compared to, what the game think you are doing. So you could do that too. I've got some chapter that finish up pretty high or not. But there's some that I thought I've done fantastic. I overtook the entire map and I kicked out all my competition, but the score wasn't great because it took me too long. But if you've done all this, then you can go for sandbox or free form as well. You can design your own game or define your own game. So that is the kind of like all the pluses I can think of. Now, what are the consideration or other thoughts as well that may sort of like make it unpleasant to play? There are a couple of them I can imagine. The first one is if you're not used to laying the track, especially, it can be very frustrating because you thought, okay, I want to connect from here to there. Why can't I do that? Why I have to do one before the other? And I found that it take a bit of getting used to. It's one of those things that, some of these games, right, that's very clunky in nature. But once you get over it, people actually love the clunkiness of it, if it makes sense. So Railway Empire is one of those that once you kind of like understood, when you lay a track, which one should I go first, the outer, inner, you have to match the direction of the track as well. And once you got all these things figured out and, you know that some of this switch cannot be over the band and so on. So once you got it all figured out, it's not that difficult to lay the track. Still get a little bit frustrating sometimes. But it's one of those things. You get over it. You like it. Let's talk about AI as well. I personally think that the AI has some really unfair kind of advantage, because when I look at my company versus the rest of the two, obviously mine is more busier and is more connected, but the value of the company can grow really fast as well. And I don't quite understand. And the way that they build the empire or the company is a bit weird as well. Like they can have large train station, but 4 lane collapse into one. There's just one single lane with some side track connect to something else. And with that kind of infrastructure, if I were to implement those kind of like ideas, I don't think I'll get this sort of earn that much as the AI. So I think the AI has some form of unfair advantage against human. Well, more so once I take over the business, I don't see as much kind of like revenue grow just by observing it. But you could also liquidate everything if you don't like it. The another thing annoying about buying a business is after that all the staff become like, they don't get fired, but they go back into the kind of pool of bench. They go back to the bench, and you have to reassign them one by one. And it's sort of like, okay, should I pair this with that and that and that? So it become quite a challenge. But usually you can only do it in late game. I would just say liquidate the damn business and don't think too hard about it. If you want to build more on your track, or just take over them, don't think about it, take over their money. And fire all the people. Maybe that is the real, in real life. That's what happened, isn't it? You buy the business, you sell off what's valuable, and then you fire everybody else. So real. Another thing I don't really like is the UI can be a little bit clunky. And it's not something clunky until I would like it. It's just I don't like it because first of all, train upgrade. Okay, so you can research on like a skill map, like ARPG can research on the train, on profitability, on train maintenance, more or less the same thing that you can see. Some will give you a better kind of like train, and once you get a better train, you want to upgrade them more, right? But then upgrading train is kind of like very tedious. You have to go to each of the route and then click on the train, the upgrade train, agree that you pay a top up, and the train will get instantaneously upgraded into a new one, magically speaking. I wish there was a much better way for me to upgrade all my trains. That's one. I always find that like I mentioned, reassigning the staff is very clunky. Go by train. Usually I sort by the profitability of the train and focus on building a better team for that train. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, there are 4 persons inside a train. I think engineer, the stalker, and the security guard, and there's a, I don't know what, one more is a captain or whatever. And the, something like captain. So you have 4 people with different personality, and sometimes some personality synergize with each other, sometimes they don't, right? So if you put a dominant one with a timid one, maybe they will fight and so on. So you want to build a team to synergize them and to actually buff your train. So it could be a faster train or more powerful train, or better maintenance, or less likelihood they'll get hijacked, or it's a Wild West, right, back in America old days. But I will just focus on those highest value kind of route, the route that give me the most profitability. I'll boost them, or there's some objective one, but doing that can be a bit tricky. Tracking of the route can be a little bit tricky as well, because I wish there's a much better way for me to just filter off, saying that, okay, so what is going to Chicago, right? I mean, then I can have a bird's eye view on all the train that going through Chicago from Chicago, or destination as Chicago, or all these resources that like cattle going into Chicago, and I can refine my route such a way that maybe want to add some more or drop some. So it's a bit tricky, especially in the late game when there are so many trains, so many routes. Then you want to say, okay, I want to change some of this into an express route, and want to upgrade the train to express train just to carry passenger and mails, because they are pretty profitable. But going through that process can be a bit tedious. All right. So these are some of the consideration, I would say. And the next bit is on the tips. So if you play real-time strategy game, you tend to I'm a person that like turtle strategy, meaning that I play defensive, I don't play offensive, I don't rush. I want to build up my resources and slowly grow my way to take down my opponent. And in RTS it never quite work, I know, but sometimes even in StarCraft, if you stay on long enough, you could win. You could do the same for Railway Empire as well, but there are some that is timed objective, and your score is tied to the timing as well. So tips number 1 is that the best to just go for offensive. Don't wait too much on certain things. Just click the fastest you can, but micromanage everything else on the map, and trying to do as quick as you can. Do it once, don't try to upgrade and correct it, otherwise it will take a longer time for you to achieve the outcome, right? And the second one, interesting, is that so there are 2 ways to do an offensive rush. You can either build small train station with single track out from connecting the city or resources, and then build side track to deal with the ongoing traffic, right? So because two train cannot use the same kind of like track, of course, obviously, so you do one after the other. But you could actually build some side tracks so that some train, when they go head on, they can go underneath signal, and then the other train will pass by. You can actually build priority, like which train should pass by, as I want this city to be having a priority than some of these resources. You can do that too, but my advice is that by doing so, then later on you need to start erasing your track, upgrading your station, and to start connecting the track into a double track. And track modification in this game is very tedious. You can't just add like a pin saying that, okay, from this point onward of the track I would like to modify. When you demolish a track, you demolish the entire track up to a point of that kind of like structure. It could be up to a point whereby there's a switch there. So you have to do a lot of like maybe build an artificial switch, take out some track and modify it. And I find that there's a lot of time kind of spent on it, and money as well. I think, abolish, you can actually get some money back, but they just take up so much effort. Although you can pause the time, or you can select a game mode whereby the time will get paused when you do all this modification, but I find that sometimes it's just not that efficient, and it's not that fun either. So my proposal is that, just build a train station with 2 track into a platform to start with, and then all the tracks just do double track, unless you are really, really low in cash. And you can take up bonds as well. You can take up loans, pay the interest, but at least get your boost. And then when the money starts to come in faster, you can start to pay back your bond, or you can just like, okay, fine, I'll pay the interest and continue building my empire, especially on the expansion phase, right? It's one of those 4X stuff you need to expand, explore, you need to explore, you need to expand, but probably, well, a bit of, extermination as well. You need to get rid of a competitor. The other thing that you could think about is that, the competitor may build station onto your territory and start taking away your business, or actually help you grow a city as well. You think about it that way. You can go into your kind of like resources or businesses and start to kind of like get their quota as well. So there are a couple of ways to get around it. If you play it with the AI, you can actually build 2 stations in one location, and they can't build the third one because that's a rule of the game. When I want to protect my resources or businesses as well as towns that are near to my competitor, I'll start to build some dummy rural station, put one there, but I never get to use it. Or sometimes it's good to use them as well to expand your empire. But I'll just like protect my turf first. They cannot expand onto my territory. It works out somehow. Or you can just quickly build up your empire and just buy up the competition, kick them out. That's another one as well. It is important as a tips to synergize your local business. So for example, there are different tiers of production. So some convert raw material into consumer goods. So one very one example is that you can convert cattle into steak or meat, and then you can export the meat, or you can convert, like say, cotton into silk. But then there's also another business whereby you can convert a primary product into secondary product. So you can take on silk and then you convert that into, say, textile or clothes, and you can export the clothes. The only downside, the only thing that you need to think about is unless the city grows beyond a certain population, they may not want those luxury goods. And luxury goods are the one that give you the most money. And you can start to synergize, like, oh, maybe this city will be focusing on producing primary resources, and then after that, another city will then take the primary resource, primary produce to make luxury goods, and vice versa. That can be done. You could be tempted also to, because as the city expand, you can select a different kind of like business. I think up to 2, and then there's another one that's more like a functional one, like a museum or whatever you can build. What's my advice for that? I think for the first business in that, for the first industry in that city, if it is very important to the angle of the game, like chapter 4 of the base game Civil War, that you need to produce weapon, then of course I want to pick those that are making chemical as well as wood, lumber in making guns, right? So I tend to do that, but it is expensive to make the choice. You could let the game kind of like make a decision for you, but then you may end up with industry that doesn't grow because there's no surrounding kind of like resources to even support that, right? So it's a tough call. Expensive to control the first business, but you can always have the second one. That's what I kind of observe. And observing the supply demand is really important. So you can see that the weekly production for each of the industry that you have in your city, you can go into the breakdown of what they are importing and what they are exporting, and you start to build some route that go around with that. It's just synergize that kind of thing, and you can grow your population as well, of course. With that then comes more perk and so on. So that's nice. And if there are some businesses that are very important to your objective, like this Japan DLC that you see a scenario is first objective is to transport rice to different city and grow them, right? So in that case, it's good to buy some of these kind of businesses early, and to have a direct influence on how how their production is, you can actually expand their business as well. So for example, if you play again the Civil War scenario in the base game, then you may say, okay, I want to sort of like all this raw material to create weapons. I need to kind of buy the businesses so that I can have an influence on how fast they can produce those work, and that is good as well. And I think the last bit is really learning how to effectively build some of the switches and signal. Then you can observe there's some track that you do not need if you put your switch kind of like correctly. There are some guides in the Steam workshop. Take a look at that as well. And well, just have fun. I think it's a really fun game. So in short, I highly recommend if you enjoy the strategy and also a little bit of real-time kind of strategy kind of game. If you enjoy railway and also growing economic and taking out the competitor, if it is your cup of tea, I think it's really good. The historical event, I think it's good as well. The different location, if you buy the entire DLC at discount, I think it's going to give you many hours of enjoyment. And I'll possibly provide an update as I continue to play this game. And so thank you. Drop me any comment you may have in the box below. I'll try my best to answer you. All right, see you next time. Bye.
As close as these cities are, all places in Japan must be connected. Then we will have paved a way into the future. The first railways are very impressive. His Imperial Majesty is delighted by this rapid progress. You have permission to expand your ventures to the regions north of here.